So earlier on I made a video telling the story of how I had an accident and had to change my career and all of that. Yes, so I started working in a day spa center, and after that, during those time, I was with my mom after the accident. And before I could start the work, I calculated the distance between my mother's house to the office or to the day spa center was like incredibly impossible for me to be traveling between those distance. So what I did was I stayed with a friend. Now this is the story. Stay with me, get yourself a cup of coffee or tea or anything healthy, relax, chillax, and listen to the story. I promise you, after listening to me, after listening to this story, you're going to be motivated, you're going to be hopeful, and you're never going to give up on yourself, because you can achieve it. All right, you can achieve it. So for those of you who knows Accra very well, or you are Ghanaians, I was living, or my mom's place was still is in Domi. My workplace was in East Legon. My friend was living in Achimota. So I went to him and said, look, this is the problem. I finally got work, and I also mentioned in the earlier video that I had to take money from my friend to go for interview. He was the one I took money from. So I asked for accommodation because he lived in a friend's house with his grandparents and taking care of his grandparent, his grandfather, who was bedridden. So yeah, he said, okay, I will help you. Of course, I will give you, but then you cannot stay in the main house. So I have to be in the guest house. Sorry, there were two rooms. There were two rooms in the guest house. One of them was occupied by the house servant, and then the other one was already occupied by his friend, who happened to be a guy. And this is the only available room I can share with. It's either I share the room with a guy whom I don't know, who is not even my friend, or then I have to leave with my mom and travel a long distance to go to work. Mind you, I start working at 8 a.m. in the morning and I close at 8 p.m. at night. So I'm doing a physical and emotional job, you know. So I need all the necessary physical strength, emotional stability, and all the positivity around me to be able to deliver and be the best at my work. Because for me, this is always my goal, to be the best at what I do. So he said, okay, this is the situation, and also my grandfather don't have to know that you live here. So you're not going to have a key to the main gates, you're not going to have a key to the house, nothing. When you get back to work, when you arrive home, you just call me, let me know that you are arriving or you have arrived. I'll open the gate and you sneak in and you sneak out. So this was it. Now that room that I was going to share had a tiny, it wasn't even a bed, mattress, tiny student mattress, okay? And I had to share that room and that bed with that unknown guy. Now I have lost contact with this guy, but he was really kind, very respectful, because he didn't take advantage of the situation and act stupidly or ridiculously. He was really nice. So I picked up broken pieces of a wardrobe that was disassembled, lay it on the ground in the room, and put some clothes on it, some bed sheets on it, and I slept on it because I didn't have money. I didn't have money to attend an interview. How can I even afford a mattress or anything? So I started working. My salary was 250 Ghana cedis. At that time, that was nothing. It has no value, but That was my salary, and I needed a job. I needed an income. I was on zero, absolutely nothing. So I needed it. It was much better than nothing. All right. So I took it, and I had a lot of struggles because I was working in a very residential area, and then it was very difficult to get public transport every day to go back to Achimota or where I lived. But coming to work was easy. Going back home in the night was difficult. Sometimes I stay under the rain. I get beaten by the rain, under the storm. Sometimes flood happens in Accra. I have witnessed a lot, to the extent of witnessing the Melcom building when it was undergoing construction in Ghana. That building collapsed later on. I experienced it when it was being built, because it was being constructed in the night. At one point it rained. I was on my way home. I fell in front of the building because they put sand there, and it rained, and the surface looked like sand, but there was water beneath it. So I just stepped on it and I fell on it. I went through all of that. Sometimes I get home, the gate is closed, my friend is not around, I have to call him and wait. 10 p.m, 11 p.m, I go to bed 12, I have to eat and wake up in the morning early and get to work at 8. So I told myself, the basic idea was, I'm going to save my salary. Now, I was saving all of my salary. Why? Because I had a motive. My motive was to get an apartment of my own. So I told myself, I'm going to save every penny of my salary. I'm not touching it. Ask me how I was surviving. Fortunately for my work, you get tips. So in Ghana, your tips is given to you directly by the client. It doesn't have to go through your boss or the company. So I was keeping my tips, and I was living on my tips and saving my salary. Sometimes I get tips like $100. So I get tips sometimes equally like my salary or more. If I calculate my tips at the end of the month, it's way beyond my salary. So I saw this. I was saving some of them, but I was living on it. My transportation, my upkeep, everything was coming out of my tips, and I was saving my salary. So exactly 3 months, I have had enough of sleeping on a broken piece of wardrobe. I had so much body pains. I didn't have privacy, and it was a crazy situation. But I was so grateful that at least I had a roof over my head. I was not on the streets to be harassed, to be killed. Anything can happen to you when you are out there on the street. So I was very grateful. However, I had a motive to get an apartment of my own, a small room of my own. So I saved all that money. Exactly 3 months. If my salary is 250 cedis, exactly 3 months, I had 750. Okay, so I looked for a room, and a room costs 100 euros per month. In Ghana, we don't pay by month. You make a down payment of 2 years. Okay, so 2 years in advance, and then you stay in the room. It has its advantage and disadvantage. The disadvantage is that you might not have that bulk of money at the time you need accommodation, and the advantage is that once you pay that money for 2 years, you're relaxed for 2 years until it's over, before you pay for another rent. If you want to live in that same apartment, or you want another one, it's just going to be the same duration. So I had a motive to get an apartment, right? And that was the reason why I was saving money. Now I have determination to acquire that apartment by every means, by positive means, not just every means, every positive means. So I was saving my salary. Now I got a room where I like and I feel safe, but it was 100 euros per month. And on top, they were asking for 1 year advance, which was one of the best situation ever, because in most cases it's 2 years in advance. So I wanted that apartment so badly, so badly. I wanted it. I thought of it. What would be the best option or approach? What could I do? So I took a pen and paper, wrote down, structure everything. I know I have 750 to pay for 1 year of the room. I need about 450, right? That to make 1,002 to pay for the room. Okay, good. I had few stuff I had purchased, like utensils, all right? So I had them already purchased long ago and they were in my mom's house, so okay, I could take that. Okay, I need a mattress. I didn't have a mattress. I have some bed sheets and stuff. Okay, great. So I went to my boss and I proposed to him. Listen, I got a room that is very close to the workplace, and it's important that I live close to the workplace because I have some problems. Prior to that, I had gone to work late during some days, so there is already a history that I go to work late sometimes. So I told him it was based on this reason that I was coming to work late, because I live a bit far from here and it's not so easy to get public transport to come to work. I can also not afford taxi to come to work every day, and so the best option is I look for an accommodation that is very close to the workplace. Brilliant idea, right? Great. My boss was like, yes, it makes sense, because also they were using me in the sense that after work I work extra hours and I don't get paid. So for them it works good. It's a perfect idea. If I live close to the workplace, then they can call me at any time and I will be there. So he said, okay, how much do you need? I said, I need 500 Ghana cedis. He said, okay. I said, I need that money to rent the apartment. He said, okay, we will give it to you. However, we will want our name to be on the document as the ones who rent the apartment. I said, what? I'm the one renting it. I have the majority of the money. You're just giving me a loan. They said, well, this is their conditions. I said, okay, but I also want to pay back in 2 months. They said, what? No. That's your salary, the whole of your salary for 2 months. I said, yes, I want this because I don't want to own. So I wanted to pay back as quick as I can. And I also understood that the more I own someone, the longer period I own someone, I feel like I'm enslaved to the person, you know. I have to take actions and decisions that will make me pay them, you know. I feel obliged, some kind of obligation, so I prefer to pay them. Finally, they agreed. I also agreed they can put their name on it. I don't mind. So we went together to the landlord, the owner of the apartment, and I have a different strategy also for him. I told him, I really so much want this apartment, but I can only pay for 10 months instead of 12 months. Why? You remember I don't have a mattress? Okay, great. So I took 500 from my boss, adding to the 750 I have, that would be 1,250. So if we take 1,000 cedis out of that, I will be left with 250 cedis. Now, by my calculation, I had already done the calculation, I had already done the research, went to the market and asked for it. I will buy a mattress that will cost me 150 cedis plus, okay? So it was between 150 to 200 cedis, so that was great. I was able to talk to the landlord, and because my boss was also present to sign the document, he agreed. I will pay you. I rented the apartment in October, and I told the landlord, by December, I'm going to pay you. And he was like, okay. I also told my boss, I'm going to pay them. People, are you listening to me? Now, calculate it. If I'm going to use all my salary to pay my boss, How am I going to be able to pay the landlord in the same month? Determination. I started working before I go to work as a therapist. So I did a publication online and was getting clients who call me sometime late. Why? Because these clients, they travel from different countries, different continents into Ghana. They arrive lately and they need massage, so I go. Now the disadvantage of my career is everybody have their own opinion and thoughts about massage therapists. In the house I lived, people were eyeing, gossiping around me, gossiping behind me, talking about me, calling me a prostitute. What kind of work is this? I didn't care. You know why? Because I was determined to pay my boss and determined to pay my landlord and be free living in my own apartment. That was my determination. So, to be able to fulfill that, okay, I was working beyond what I should. But it doesn't matter because I am determined. I am determined to achieve that. And guess what? I worked so hard. I was so fortunate that I had really nice clients, respectful clients who appreciated my job, my work as a therapist. I make sure not to cross the line, and I work so much that I was giving tips sometimes. Sometimes I don't get tips, but as much as I am paid, as much as my client tells me, oh, that feels so good, that pain, I'm so relieved, the pain is gone, my body ache, I was just satisfied. And in 2 months exactly, I was able to pay my boss, and I was able to pay the landlord. Motivation and determination. Regardless of the struggle, regardless and in spite of the fact that I was called a prostitute because I was hustling, regardless of the fact that I was getting body pains, regardless of the fact that the places I have to go and work sometimes is so far from me, I was determined. I was taking public transport instead of taxi, and I saved every penny I had. And within a month time, I paid my boss, I paid my landlord, I finished my apartment. I was happy. I was happy. And then after that, I set another goal. And for the first time in my life, I made my first 10,000 Ghana cedis in 2013. Because I worked so hard. I was determined. I was saving everything. I was not misusing my money. It was work out, go to work, sleep. So my friend, I hope that this little long story did trigger you not to give up. I have faced a lot of struggles and challenges in many phases of my life, but look, that's just the spice of life. If you get everything easily, what story will you have to tell? I hope you've been motivated and you are determined to achieve your goals. Do have a beautiful day wherever you are. Be bold, be beautiful. Go do whatever you want to do. Say whatever you want to say, as much as you're not hurting anyone. But most of all, be motivated and inspired. It's been a beautiful moment with you. My name is Mimi Faith, and adios.
Stay motivated and inspired.